The opening bell started for Frontier Africa Tuesday, the final Tuesday in the month of November. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 29th day of the month. This is just a summary of some of the markets we cover on a daily basis for you on the continent. The Nigerian market finished last week very strong, 6% to the upside, but started this final 3 days of the month in the negative, 3.25% in the red. Well, essentially, Boa Cement, the second largest cement producer, led the stock market on the NGX down a negative, finishing line on Monday. The banking sector down by 0.2%. We saw insurance up by 1.5%. Consumer goods and industrial goods were down, including oil and gas as well. Look at the BRVM printing 22 basis points in the negative territory. The Egyptian stock market started the rest of the week with the rest of us having started on Sunday. Monday, the EGX 30 fell by roughly 0.75%. But it's a different story in Nairobi because the Nairobi Securities Exchange finished about 0.06% positive. The shares of NSC PLC on the Nairobi bourse went up roughly 1.2% on Monday. You've got a few other names in the Kenyan markets positive on Monday, like the NCB, which is in the banking services, as well as the East African breweries. So let's just get at them. You look at the South African GSC yesterday, up by 30 basis points, despite the decline that we saw in resources with names such as Kumba Iron Ore, Harmony Gold, Anglo Gold. In the red, the market managed to finish in the positive territory because the financials and the industrial indices were positive on the day. That summarizes your takeoff day for the week as we head into December in the next 72 hours or so. Let's get into the East African market. Market still digesting that interest rate hike, 50 basis points by the Patrick Njoroge's central bank, which took Kenya's headline interest rate to 8.75%. We're getting done with the central bank interest rate decisions for the year. By the way, just a few central banks still out there on the continent that we're focusing on in this week and into December. The company known as Africa Data Center is building its first data location in Kigali, Rwanda. And the company says the reason was simple. The government of Rwanda is focusing on digital transformation, and the environment for doing business in Kigali, Rwanda is just right for the company. It's a multi-million-dollar facility being put there in Kigali. We say congratulations to the folks in Rwanda making it what you call ease of doing business. In the meantime, the East African breweries clean energy transition is going on ahead. It was 95%, now at 97%. The whole climate conversation is about 2030. That's the target set by East African Breweries, which is a subsidiary of Diageo in East Africa continent. EABL, an iconic company listed on the Nairobi as well as Uganda and Tanzania stock exchanges, accounting for about 1% of the GDP in Kenya, East Africa's largest economy. And that is good news that biomass is what East African Breweries is focusing on as the material for its clean energy for its breweries operations. Then Rawbank says it's completed the first issuance of negotiable commercial paper debt program within the Congolese market. That's within the CEMAC region, which is the French-speaking countries in Central Africa. Let's move on to West Africa. And as the OECD, the Organization for the Economic Cooperation and Development is saying there's going to be still high level of inflation next year, 2023 into 2024. The OECD decided not to forecast an economic recession, but says there's going to be serious pressure on global economies in 2023 into 2024. Keep that in mind. In the meantime, the Naira is rebounding after those furious measures by the Central Bank of Nigeria undergoing the Emefiele redesigning of the top three currency denominations, the 200, 500, and 1,000, the whole arrangement to get hundreds of billions of naira back into the coffers of the bank, The currency change is already taking off. It's going to end in January. So there's an inflow of foreign currency, which is helping to moderate the price of the Naira against the dollar. At the investors and exporters window, the Naira finished 444.7 on the dollar. That was on Monday. That was reported by FMDQ Securities Exchange. In the meantime, Ghana Central Bank decided to raise interest rate 250 basis points to end the year 2022. That took Ghana's headline interest rate to 27%. However, the cedi decline depreciation so far this year was about 54.2% between January and November. That's according to Bank of Ghana in its monetary policy statement released on Monday. And Africa's Minister of Finance and central bank governors across the continent are meeting in Lome, the capital of Togo, here in West Africa this week. The conference started yesterday. It's the Africa Finance Summit, which discussed everything within the financial ecosystem for the African continent. Banks, other financial institutions, others that are attending that conference as well. We're going to be reporting that for you throughout this week. Let's get on to the Southern Africa. The Angola Oil and Gas Conference is starting today in Luanda. Will be ending in the 1st of December. It's a 3-day conference that will bring together big names within the Angola industry and across the African continent. Talk about new projects in hydrocarbon in Angola, Africa's leading oil and gas producer. And there'll be those advocacy groups such as the African Energy Chamber also attending the conference. In the meantime, the Bank of Namibia is expected between today and tomorrow to release its monetary policy decision for the Southern African country, the final meeting and the rate decision for the year, by the way. A Standard Bank, the biggest lender in South Africa and the most capitalized on the African continent, is reporting a double-digit interest income growth for the period ended October. That is also in the news. A few countries, according to Standard Bank, are contributing to that headline growth that is being reported. Sibanye Stillwater, which is a South Africa diversified resource company, says it's putting about $600 million to advance its operations for lithium project in Finland. And Zimbabwe Power is reporting a shortage because hydro plant has stopped its operations. Zimbabwe is facing a crunching energy crisis, but sources within Zimbabwe says the mining firms are getting a bit of preferential electricity supply to allow them remain in business. Let's finish off with North Africa. And of course, quite a couple of headlines because Somali's first International Investment Forum enters its second day today. President Hassan Mohamud flagged off that conference yesterday, the first ever to bring Somaliland into the global investment ecosystem. And what is working and moving in Somali, that's what the country is projecting. The conference is continuing, and President Hassan Mohamud is also in attendance for the second day, putting his eyes on the conversation and listening and talking to international investors. Morocco has been ranked the second on the Africa's Industrialization Index. This country in North Africa is pulling a whole lot of weight. The AU Extraordinary Summit on Industrialization and Economic Diversification was held in Niamey, the capital of Niger, just a few days ago, and Morocco was a shining star of that particular summit. And companies listed on the Tunisian Stock Exchange are reporting 16% increase in their overall income. That's good news for President Said's administration, although quite a lot of political issues to be resolved. And Libya's Oil, Gas and Renewable Energy Exhibition and Conference also started on Monday. That conference will continue for the next day. And finally, Atijari Wafu Bank is floating a new business game. It's called the Atijari Startup Game. It's to support companies within North Africa, especially Morocco and a few other countries in the region, to get their startup business in place. And what support is Atijari Wafu Bank bringing to the table? That's what the business game is all about. If you're in that region, let me know how the game goes. But this is how the game ends this morning on Frontier Opening Bell. Opening the bell, get on, have a profitable trading day, everyone. I'll see you next time. It's goodbye from here.